Let's move on to tonight's stories. The Petroleum Commission will soon announce a local partner for ExxonMobil as part of the petroleum agreement signed with Ghana for oil exploration. Now, according to the Commission, the company wants to ensure due diligence before making a choice. This was made known at a strategic roundtable discussion on oil and gas organized by the Ghana Oil and Gas Club. Ebenezer Sabute has more.
Earlier this year, Ghana signed a petroleum agreement with ExxonMobil for the deep-water Cape 3 Point area for ultra-deep-water oil exploration. The deal would have to be ratified by Parliament after a local partner also appends its signature to start its operations. Under the deal, ExxonMobil is expected to carry out the work program as operator and hold 80% interest, while the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, acting on behalf of government, holds 15% interest. Per the terms of the agreement, ExxonMobil will work with the government to identify a Ghanaian company to potentially hold up to 5% of the interest. Manager of the local content at the Petroleum Commission, Kwejo Asariche, has told Joy Business, despite the delay in getting a local company to partner ExxonMobil, will soon announce a credible local partner.
They are still on the due diligence process. Once it is complete, the Commission will be notified, and then I'm sure the agreement will now be sent to Parliament for ratification, and then they can begin with the exploration activities.
Have they come up with any potential local? Have they identified?
That I know of for now.
Is it not too long?
You see, we're discussing quality. They need to settle on a local partner who can bring quality on board. So they need to take their time to really select a very good local partner who has matching skills. On the exploration and production front.
So can you say they are actually on course?
Yeah, they are. I find that they are on course. I'm sure in due time they will settle on a very suitable partner and then start their operations.
Established in 2010, the Ghana Oil Club was conceived by a group of oil, gas and energy industry professionals before Ghana's new energy sector policy and realization of first oil. The program is to give opportunity to industry players to have detailed discussion on making an entry and becoming successful. Kwabna Afori-Addo is Managing Director of Connexus Energy and a Director of the Ghana Oil Club.
To provide a forum where we can talk, express ideas, look at some of the keys and topical issues, and then be able to bounce them off each other. Also, another avenue is for the industry professionals to be able to get together and network professionally and to be able to understand and also learn from each other. So that was something that was set up in 2012, and it was very active, especially around the LI 2204 when it was being debated and obviously signed into law around local content on topical issues. So we're able to get together and then harness all some of the key players in the industry to review the LI and understand and also give their feedback to the government, to the Petroleum Commission, to the different entities.
The event is a partnership between Ghana Oil Club and the Oil and Gas Year.
Now, some experts have warned government against over-reliance on the country's natural resources as part of its commitment to move the country beyond aid. Speaking to Joy Business at a natural resource breakfast meeting organized in Accra, a representative of Conrad Adenauer Stiftung, Burkhard Hellman, said natural resources should not be seen as the only means to development. Now, Bismarck Awusa has got our story.
The warning comes as the latest World Bank report reveals that environmental degradation is costing the country more than 12% of its GDP. It is against this backdrop that some experts have urged government to refrain from over-relying on the existing natural resources in its quest to move the country beyond aid. Burkhard Hellman is resident country representative of Conrad Adenauer Stiftung.
I fully agree with the President that it should be taken into consideration and that this is a perspective for Ghana. The other thing is the management of natural resources. That should be done in a proper way, and certainly as well that Ghanaians benefit from that. So yes, there's a link between them, but nevertheless it shouldn't be mixed too much together, meaning natural resources management is the only key for the development of the country. I don't believe in that. There are so many other areas, business sector, all the service providing sectors, that do not depend from natural resources.
Mr. Hellman spoke to Joy Business at the Natural Resource Breakfast meeting organized by the Institute of Green Growth Solutions. Director of the United Nations University Institute of Natural Resources in Africa, Dr. Elias Ayuk, has urged the public to support sustainable use of resources.
Ghana, like African countries, there is a need for relative decoupling. Relative decoupling means that they can grow and hurt the environment a little bit, but as they grow, they should be reducing the pressure they put on the environment. For the developing countries, they have no choice because they've reached a peak. It should be absolute decoupling. Absolute means that they cannot grow and hurt the environment at the same time. So the cost of environmental degradation is real.
In a related development, Director of Mines at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Christopher Anoche, says government is currently scouting for investors to harness local salt production.
Government is looking at using the bauxite, developing the bauxite resource of this country. And you can only develop the bauxite industry into aluminium only if you have, your salt industry. In fact, you gain more in going forward. We'll have to deal with the issues that are militating against its development. It's essentially the ownership of the land and all others before a serious investor would be prepared to put in his money. I don't have the figures off my head, but for any industrial complex, you're talking into millions of dollars. It's not a small amount of money. If really we want to go big, it's huge.
The 2018 Natural Resource Breakfast meeting is on the theme Ghana Beyond Aid, the Role of Natural Resources. Bismarck Hausa's report for Joy Business.
Now, a senior research fellow at the International Food Policy Research Institute, Carl Powell, has called for more effort in building stronger markets for agro-processors to source produce. According to him, this is the sure way to go to improve upon the quality of food. There's more in this report. Carl Powell was speaking at a nutrition forum organized by the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana in collaboration with the International Food Policy Research Institute and the Ghana Health Service. The forum brought together policymakers and stakeholders to deliberate and propose strategies towards the nutrition implementation plan. Mr. Powell explains why the agri sector is critical in the implementation of the plan.
It's a bit of a catch-22 situation when you have weak markets. Farmers may not be willing to supply a surplus or to produce the kind of foods that agro-processors need. And at the same time, agro-processing firms find it very challenging when markets are weak and they can't source the kind of intermediate inputs that they need to produce nutritious foods for Ghanaian consumers. And so ultimately this is leading to a situation where, as a result of challenges across the entire food system, we're relying very much on imported foods and missing an opportunity for our farmers and our local agro-processors to start substituting some of these food imports.
Executive Director of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Victoria Dongo, spoke to Joy Business about why the forum is important.
Implementation of the nutrition policy should be targeting the poor and the vulnerable, where if you look at the malnourished, places that have malnutrition, and they are the poor areas, mostly in the upper region and some in the upper west northern region. So what we want to do is to, first of all, are we growing food that are good enough for our health? Are they nutritious? Do they have the good things that can benefit us nutritiously? Secondly, with the implementation strategy of the nutrition policy, who will they be targeting most? You understand? So we want to look at the strategies and see how we can also contribute to make input into the strategies.
The Nutrition Implementation Plan has the objective of ensuring a high coverage of nutrition-sensitive interventions to address the underlying causes of malnutrition and reposition nutrition as a priority multi-sectoral development issue in Ghana. Live. Coming up, some savings and loans companies in the country hit by panic withdrawals. We'll be discussing this development in the next half of this show. Stay with us.
You're still watching Business Live on Joy News, and to our main story for tonight, and some savings and loans companies in the country have also been hit by panic withdrawals. The development has already made it difficult for these companies to meet withdrawal demands of customers. Panic withdrawals is also said to have hit some local banks, resulting in 3 of them turning to the Bank of Ghana for emergency liquidity support. Meanwhile, the Association of Savings and Loans Companies is urging debtors to be prompt with loan payments, and so that's what we'll be discussing on the show tonight. And our in-house researcher and analyst Philip Namfuri joins me in the studio for this. Philip, give us an explanation of what is happening in the savings and loans. I thought this was only peculiar to the banks following the crisis that we had earlier.
Okay, so first of all, you know, the financial sector is linked. No matter where you're coming from, insurance, pensions, investments, there's always some interrelation.
Okay.
So when one thing happens in one part, the probability of it or propensity of it going to another part goes high. And you know that the banking sector or financial sector is built on trust and confidence. If you walk into a store to buy bread, you have your bread tangible. You put it in your arm and you walk out of it.
Sure.
When you go and deposit your money in the bank, are you going to sit at the banking hall to wait for them to come and open and to close? So you trust that your bankers keep your money for you. So with these 5 banks all going down on the 1st of August, it's a sort of shaking the industry, because you wonder, is all good, is all well? And when it happens like that, it starts cascading. You know what happened in the microfinance sector a couple of years ago? That's just a small subsector of the financial sector. Yet you could see that they were intertwined with some banks and some savings and loans companies.
Philip, but that brings to question. I mean, the Bank of Ghana has been assuring the public that your savings are safe. Is it that the education is not going down well? Because, I mean, if the bank has been merged, your money is still with the bank. So why will you be panicking to go and withdraw your cash?
I believe the regulator has all the good intentions, and we should listen to them when they say it's safe. But again, it boils down to customer perception and then attitudes, how you feel about something. If somebody says this is this, and you personally, your conviction tells you something different, obviously you're going to move in a different direction. And looking at the number of savings and loans in the country, 37 of them, and the banks are even also in their 30s, we are learning that yes, there have been some panic withdrawals. And let me give you some explanation of the liquidity situation of financial institutions. So for banks in particular, Bank of Ghana says every week you have to give us 10% of your customer deposits. Deposits, I beg your pardon. So you have 90% of your funds left to lend, to invest, and whatnot. They do this to control monetary supply or money supply in the economy. So the more you keep with the Bank of Ghana, the less you have to lend and the less you have on hand to meet customer obligations. So if the Bank of Ghana realizes that this is going too far, they'll have to alter that minimum reserve requirement of banks and other institutions and say that, okay, keep less with us so that you have more on hand to meet customer withdrawals. And in your introduction, you also read that the association was saying that
was appealing to debtors to pay. Yeah,
why
exactly.
So? Because when we gather the deposits, we use these same deposits as loans and to invest. If you have put some money in T-bills or something, and the maturity date is not nigh or is not near, how are you going to get that money? If you're going to withdraw it earlier than that, you're going to pay a penalty. If your customers are not paying back their loans, that's free money coming back into
Philip,
your system.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we've had this discussion before. I think, why are people defaulting? Why are people not paying back their loans? And one of the issues we're talking about when we had this discussion was as to the interest on the loans. How do we resolve this issue to be able to get people to repay their loans?
I believe loan repayment is there are a multiplicity of issues that affect it. There's one coming from the economy, there's one coming from the customer's specifics. So if you have a business that you run and that business is affected in a certain way, it's going to affect your loan repayment. If your bank also has certain weak credit processes and they know that, okay, this is not, they weren't supposed to give you this loan and they wanted to give you this loan, it will affect it. If the economy is not going too well, maybe inflation, city depreciation, and you are an importer, it's going to affect you. So there are many things that affect interest rates. But from the banking sector, Bank of Ghana introduced the Ghana reference rate in an attempt to make our lending rates more transparent, more open, more market-oriented. And it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take some time for it to really come to fruition.
I see.
So that's one reason why interest rates will be high, and then it will feed into non-performing loans and stuff like that. So yes, people are not paying back, but you have to find a way, because it's a contract between you and the bank.
So there's certainly some hard times for the financial institutions in this country. How do we recover from this crisis?
Okay, so one is the obvious one we just discussed. If you know you owe, go and pay. Sandra, if you know you're sitting and you owe, go and pay.
If I don't have the money to pay back, Philip?
Well, you have to find the money. you understand? Because banks don't like to take you to court. It's going to even cost them more than recovering what they are. And that's, you see some of them actively trying to recover their funds. 2, the institutions can borrow. That will come at a cost.
Okay.
Another option for them is to look for fresh deposits. That also is quite difficult in this market. Why? The trust has gone down. If you came to me looking for fresh deposits, 1 million, 2 million, I'll be a bit shaky. Because look what has happened. 5 banks, one morning, they were all there and boom, problem, and they go down. So there are a number of options they can employ. Then you can also go to the lender of last resort. That's the Bank of Ghana.
Okay.
And like you said, some have gone for liquidity support. It's not a bad thing.
Okay.
In every financial institution, there are times where you are in a tight spot and you need help. And that's why the Bank of Ghana is the lender of last resort. So these are some of the options. They can borrow fresh deposits, but the easiest way is to get back what they've sent out. That's their loans and advances and their investments. That's the best way they can rebuild their liquidity levels.
You obviously spoke about trust. How do we rebuild trust in the financial sector? We understand that mobile money is doing so well because people feel it's safer to keep their money on their accounts. But how do we build the trust that the financial sector need when it comes to banks and the savings and loans?
Well, Sandra, there are a number of things that can happen. But first and foremost, the regulator, the one in charge of the sector, has assured us over and over again.
Assurance, is it enough? Just assurance, but is it enough? Action,
yes,
I mean,
yes. So on that front, the people who are culpable in this banking debacle, as time goes on, we should see active stuff going on. People should
when you say active stuff, what exactly will you want to be seen done to be able to rebuild the trust?
Well, Sandra, if you are found guilty of something, you should be brought before the law and be dealt with. It shouldn't be swept under the carpet or anything like that. That is one way of building trust in such a time.
All right, thank you so much, Philip Danfure. But Darrow is standing by to take us through what we have on myjoyonline.com, specifically the business site. And what's there, Darrow?
Interesting discussion you've had. And if you visit myjoyonline.com, you find that we have a very beautiful interface, not like you usually would see it. So there you see it. It's looking nice, isn't it?
Very.
Well, so let me just run through the story. So from block factory to real estate giants, Dev Traco marks 25 years of success. We have an article on why the Bank of Ghana is complicit in current banking crisis. We've also got the latest in terms of what's happening on the currency market. The dollar is trading at 4.78 per Swiss. Plus, there's this other story that I find so interesting. Momo transaction policy coming soon. If we could get bits of that story. So we are being told that the Ghana Telecoms Chamber, in collaboration with the central bank, is developing a policy guideline to regulate mobile money transactions in the wake of the attacks on vendors. And I know, Sandra, that you've featured a story on the attacks on mobile money vendors, and some of them having to say that they rely on God for protection. That's pretty sad, isn't it?
Yeah, and the explanation they were giving at the time I filed the story was that when it comes to the service providers, they don't really care about their safety. What they care about is their books, how their books are kept clean in terms of recordings and all that. And so it's not really about where you operate, your structure, whether security is there or not, but don't expose your contact so that somebody will come and defraud you later. But personal security of Momo transaction operators, it's not what they actually pay attention to.
I know Philip does a lot of Momo transactions. I don't know how often you go to a vendor, but you feel safe?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always say anytime a regulator comes forward and says something, I think we should take their word for it and trust that the system will work. Because when we don't do that, there's total chaos and anarchy. And I believe that when a regulator speaks, we should listen.
All right.
But you know that Momo account numbers are more than our population. What do you make of that?
Well, that's a very interesting development. In Kenya, it was the same thing. Mobile money, M-Pesa. Really built their system. So it's something that we should...
Tell you what, I know of people, I mean, because you're talking about panic withdrawals, people who are, emptying their bank accounts and saving the monies in their mobile money accounts. I don't know how safe that is. Maybe it's another topic for...
Where do you keep your money
in
now?
a bank account.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you don't want to go into that. But of course, our time is up. That'll be it for Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Darrow. I did it with Sandy. This time, Philip is around. We'll see you.
Philip Danfure, thanks so much. That's all for
We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And be sure to visit our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Once again, a brand new interface. Very beautiful to read. Thanks for watching.
All right.